Yesterday your best friend, who you secretly had a crush on, died. You're teleported without warning to a seat at a table. Across from you is Death and Satan, next to you is your best friend. Sorry. Death says, your friend chose a 2 versus 2 game. I woke up this morning and instinctively reached for my phone to shut off its alarm, a drowning noise I've had for 8 years. I went to text Isabel, and immediately my heart sank. It's funny, the day after losing someone isn't as sad as you'd expect. It's empty, soulless, and cold. There was no blame to be placed in a suicide, so there's no cathartic rage to be had. It feels as though you're in a different dimension watching the things around you go about their day, without a clue what you've just went through. I ripped myself from bed and went downstairs. Maybe some tea would do me good. I sat at my dining table waiting for ways to boil, but something felt off. The chair was large and cold, the table before me even more so. The walls seemed to fade in and out, one moment resembling drywall and the next resembling flame. A heavy thud brought me to my senses, and I found myself sitting across a striking couple. In front of me was a devilishly handsome man, dressed in the finest suit money could buy. His eyes were sharp, intensely focused and radiated burning passion. His hair was well kept, not a strand out of place. He smiled a warm smile and extended his hand. Satan. I shook it. Lawrence. To Satan's right was a woman, pale as snow with deep, dark brown eyes. Looking into them was akin to staring into an ocean abyss, or a black hole. She wore a flattering white dress, clear of stains and dirt. Her hair flowed freely, so smooth it almost seemed to float about her. She offered a slight nod and an almost pitiful grin, staying eerily silent. I turned to Satan. Where am I? He sighed. You, young man, are in hell. He paused a moment. His voice was surprisingly friendly, warm even. I waited. No reaction? Most people usually panic or freak out here. I remained quiet, overwhelmed by the situation I found myself in. This is Death, he said, placing an arm around his companion. Death shrugged him off and glared at him. Get on with it, Satan. Death's voice was soft, gentle, and inviting. I felt more at ease, as though her voice was comforting me from every angle. I released some tension in my back I didn't know I was holding. Death turned her gaze to me. Lawrence, remember to breathe. I inhaled slowly. Better. What am I doing here? Did I die? I asked the beings in front of me. Not exactly. Satan leaned back and began to explain. See, your friend, Isabel, she died yesterday. My heart skipped a beat at the reminder. When you die, you come here, and we play a game. If you win, you go to heaven. If not, well. He motioned behind him, where an empty field seemed to go on for ever. I saw nothing there, but I felt the cries of a billion souls. Don't worry, that's purgatory. It isn't fun, but it's not painful either. Satan smiled proudly. Now usually people pick chess, or a video game, or something they think they're really good at. Your friend, however, his eyes shifted to my left. Death stared ahead, and I turned. It was Isabel. Her eyes were wide open, her hands constricting the edges of her jacket, her entire body trembling as if she was fighting back tears. For a moment, her eyes flickered and met mine, but instead of excitement she simply shook her head, as if trying to reject the reality around her. Satan continued his exposition. She picked a 2 versus 2 game. So I called in my friend and she could bring in the first person she thought of. She thought of me. I piped up with renewed vigor. So what, we beat you in this game and she goes to heaven, and I go back? Death and Satan shared an uncomfortable look. Isabel shook harder, and a tear escaped. Not exactly. Satan put a hand on his neck. The game is well, you see, he sighed. I looked over at Isabel. This was a woman that, in life, never took no for an answer. She had the strongest will and warmest heart of anyone I'd ever met, and never once did she let her emotions get the best of her. But now, here in this surreal place, she was bawling. I wanted to call to her, tell her it was okay, but no sound would come and I could not move. Isabel looked at me with guilt in her eyes, begging for forgiveness. Death was suddenly behind me and put a hand on my shoulder. Isabel opened her mouth. Unable to speak through her emotions, she mouthed, I'm sorry. Death's grip held tighter. You aren't playing together. Only one of you will win.